Hey everybody, I have recently been asked to share some of my expertise when working with autistic children. Just as a reminder for anybody who might not know, my area of expertise is specifically pediatrics. So all of the information I'm going to share is personal information from working with the autistic population, as well as some things obviously that I've read and things that I know from evidence-based practices, those sorts of things. And I apologize, this series of videos is probably not going to be the most fun to watch. It's just more informative, so more kind of that lecture style, but I'll try to make them as fun as possible. The one thing that I wanted to start with in this series of videos was really talking about the importance of regulation. So I tell people this, my students or anyone I'm talking to, that regulation is the most important thing that we want to talk about, especially for any kid, but really the autistic population, it's important. Regulation is necessary for a child and a person in general just to learn anything. If we are not regulated, we cannot learn. So regulation is kind of like a gauge, if you think about it that way. And we want our kids to sit in this nice kind of happy medium. Right here is a good regulation space, okay? Which means I am ready to learn. Low regulation is your kid who's like, I'm dysregulated because I'm tired. I don't want to engage with you. This is a type of dysregulation, but oftentimes this is the type of dysregulation that gets overlooked, because when we think of a kid being dysregulated, we think of that other end. So way over here where I'm really hyper and I'm coming in and I'm throwing things and I'm all over the place, and right, so I'm really dysregulated because I'm amped up for whatever reason. I can be dysregulated because I'm excited. I can be dysregulated because I'm angry. I can be dysregulated because the list goes on and on and on. Lots of reasons why I can be dysregulated. For a kid who is over here dysregulated, so I'm really tired, I don't want to do anything, this is where it's our job to get the child to co-regulate with us. So co-regulation means that I'm going to match basically the energy level of the person who's in the room with me, right? So we don't want to co-regulate with our children. We want our kids to co-regulate with us. So a very lethargic child, we might get them amped up by putting on some music and some dancing. Now, keep in mind, with our autistic population, please be aware of any sensory challenges the child might have, sensory sensitivities that they might have. If they don't like loud music, maybe they need to just do some dancing, some movement. Always considering body autonomy, so asking, can I hold your hands? Can we dance together? But helping them to get that energy up in some capacity. That doesn't mean you have to be loud, but sometimes loud works. But sometimes kids are sensitive to loud noises, so you have to know your kid. That's important, right? So getting them to amp up the energy, so now we're in a much better space. I'm more here, I'm more regulated. Now I can learn, now we can start therapy. The other end of the spectrum is when we have a kid who comes in and they're super amped for whatever reason. We need to get that to come down. So we're way over here. So we need to get you to come down so that you get in that nice, good zone of regulation. So that might look like some deep breathing together, doing some yoga together. If your kid likes deep pressure and if they give you permission, giving them that deep pressure, giving them hugs, squeezes on the arms. One thing I learned years ago was actually pushing the forehead of the child to kind of help bring that down. Like, hey, let's just give you some deep pressure on your forehead. I have kids who like their hands to be squeezed or their arms. One thing that I teach my students, we can squeeze the arms, and I will squeeze, sorry, this is gonna be a little awkward. I will squeeze the calves. What a silly video, right? I will not go above the knee. When I'm doing deep pressure on a child, I never go above the knee for deep pressure. Feet are good, hands are good, maybe some on the arms. And that also depends on what setting you work in. You can't do this in the public school setting, but there's just some information on regulation. So we want that nice, happy space. If our kid is not in that nice, happy space, they can't learn. Your therapy session cannot go on. You're basically fighting an uphill battle if your kid is too tired or way amped up. So remember, get them in that nice, regulated space, and that's when we're ready to learn, right? And you might have to do regulating over and over. You might have to throw them on the swing, right? Put a kid on the swing, let them swing for a little bit. You might need to give them some space. Some kids are like, just give me a space for like a minute, just leave me alone. Lots of ways that you can regulate. Throw me some questions down at the bottom, but those are just some examples. I hope that helped. So this will be the first of a series of videos that I'm going to make about working with the autistic population.